All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of The Gathering. We are coming to you live.
Uh-oh. Well, hold on, folks. We lost our feed. We're doing some lives at the Nickerson Sneed, so stand by. We've had some technical difficulties. There we go.
Okay.
You're back.
You're
back.
All right, so we're coming to you live from our home haunt, the Nickerson Sneed House in Glade Spring, Virginia. We are blessed, your hosts of this show, to be based out of one of the most active haunted locations that we have ever been to. We've literally traveled all over the United States to going to some of the most haunted locations, and the Nickerson Sneed to this day still remains one of the places where we have captured some of the best evidence. So we're going to start tonight with kicking off the Haunted Harvest, which is a 5-part live event that we're going to do from our home haunt. This is a location we've investigated dozens of times. So we're going to share some of the hot spots with you. We're going to show you where we've had some of the most incredible captures of paranormal evidence of our career. And we're also going to tell you the history. And also, while we're here tonight discussing the history and going over some of the hot spots, there is a séance taking place tonight being led by our lead psychic medium. She does own this fabulous place, and she is conducting a live séance. So we will check in on the séance and let you guys see some of that. When they take a break, we will also interview her, as well as some of the guests that are partaking in the live séance. I am not wearing a mask so that you guys can hear us, but the rest of our people are wearing masks and practicing social distancing protocols. So we are doing everything we can to be safe tonight, but thank you for tuning in. Welcome to The Gathering. Al, we're going to get ready to walk around, so why don't you just take a minute and tell everybody a little bit about your favorite experience here while we get ready to take everybody on the tour.
Okay. Well, one of my favorite experiences ever at the Nickerson Sneed was we were doing an investigation with End of the Line Paranormal, who are fantastic folks. They run the tours at Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. If you guys have never been there, that's an awesome location. We've been there twice. It's just hard to describe how unreal that place is. But we were doing an investigation with them, and Kevin was running a spirit box. I was running a spirit box, and Kevin was asking questions, and he was saying, if you talk, we can hear you. And a voice clear as day come over and said, I can hear you, like he was answering our comment. So
absolutely, I think that was one of the best captures that we've had, not only here, but on ITC in general. And just to remind our viewers, we subscribe more, and I didn't mean to cut you off, I just want to interject this real quick, but we subscribe more to the white noise theory. Yes. We take the antennas out of our boxes because, yes, there is still a little bit of radio bleed over, but we think it's more that frequency of noise that spirit uses to communicate. Right. So that's not only the best capture I think that we've had here. I would argue it's one of the best captures we've had in the hundreds of locations or hundreds of investigations we've done at dozens of locations. Would you agree on?
Yeah, and I was going to say we never leave Nickerson Sneed disappointed with anytime we've ever been up there, which has been dozens of investigations. We always capture something great.
Even if it's just a team meeting,
yeah,
we're always. So even if it's a team meeting and we're just talking and visiting and just kind of hanging out, we get excited and start, hey, did you hear that? And we start running upstairs and the investigation mode just kind of kicks in. But there is always activity here. This is an amazing location. It's almost like we've gotten kind of jaded to it, where, there's certain things that we hear and see and smell. We open the door to the basement, and who smells rose water from a basement?
Usually
not just me. Yeah, it's musty, damp. Yeah, but not just me, but several people could smell rose water right there at the doorway. So yeah, this place never, ever, ever disappoints.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm going to piggyback that. When I took my daughters here tonight, she came up. She was going to help us film. And if we do have any audio or technical difficulties or video difficulties, we apologize. The internet is currently down here at the location. So we had to send Al back to his studio at the house, which is like a 47-minute, 48-minute drive from here. And we're working off of a cell phone. So I know that we have been plagued with technical difficulties over the last several shows. And I do apologize, but hopefully we won't be plagued with any others tonight. But to piggyback off of what Christina was saying, when I was taking my daughter through the walkthrough, we heard footsteps, which is very common. In fact, the very first time in 2000 and I believe it was 14 or 15, it might have been 14, was the first time that we came up here as a team. And it was an earlier group of people that we had on the team. The team dynamic is a little different now. But on that very first walkthrough, I was talking with Rhonda the very first day I had met Rhonda, and we heard footsteps above us. And I was like, do you hear footsteps? She goes, oh, yeah, it happens all the time. So I immediately went into investigation mode. I grabbed a recorder. I ran up the stairs. I heard audibly footsteps across the floor on this. When I'll show you where that happened. We opened the door to the little room that's off of what we call the red room here. And sure enough, the footsteps stopped, and I'm holding a recorder, and we captured a Class A EVP. It's available on our website, and it says, come on, come on. And it's crystal clear. So the very first 30 minutes that we were here, the very first time, we had that experience. So there's available on Amazon is the book with the history of this place. I was looking around the gift shop, because that's where we're currently standing, to see. There might be one over there. I know it's definitely available. Is it up here?
No, we're looking. It's here, folks.
Anyway, it is available on Amazon bookstore. It is the Nickerson Sneed House's history. It goes through.
We'll post a link on our SRS Facebook page.
Yes. And by the way, we do this show here on Paranormal Warehouse, but if you want to follow what SRS Paranormal is doing, what your hosts are doing when we are places like this, when we do live investigations, our publics, please follow us on the information going on the bottom of the screen. It is at SRS Paranormal Fans, and you can follow the team and everything that we're doing. But I'm going to go ahead and start getting into the history and tell you guys a little bit about the Nickerson Sneed House Museum. This original property was part of King Cannon's fort in the mid-1700s. To the probably 1770-ish, right around the time of the nation becoming a nation. This property was fortified by Francis King Cannon. And the original property, when we show you later, there were 2 rooms that were the original property, the original log cabin. And when Dr. Sneed purchased the property, he purchased what was left of the King Cannon parcel, which was several hundred acres that was later subdivided. He purchased a big portion of that. And he built this house. Now, he did own several slaves. They did have cotton and some other crops here. So this was sort of like a mini plantation, I guess, in a sense. And they were who helped build the property, the house that was built on. The room that we're standing in now, and that was in 1835, the room that we're standing in now was the ladies' parlor. It now functions as the gift shop. But it was the ladies' parlor, so women would have, I'm sorry, this was the men's parlor. I'm backwards. So the men would have came in here. They would have had their tobacco and their pipes, and they would have had their whiskey and their beverages. If you've ever heard the saying, mind your P's and Q's, it actually comes from that very thing, pints and quarts. In other words, keep yourself in check. Don't overindulge in alcohol. While the ladies would have been over here, so we'll walk across the hall. This would have been the ladies' parlor. So this is where, I don't know if I have to whisper a little bit because they are doing sounds from the other. So this is where the women would have entertained. So they would have sat in this room. They would have probably been here. They probably would have had tea with, your sugar and all those things. And they would just have sat here and sip tea while the men talked, business in the other room. So this would have been the ladies' parlor. That was the men's parlor. So that brings us to the history in the 1800s. So leading up to the Civil War, this area was hit very hard during the Civil War. And those of you who are watching us overseas, The American Civil War was one of the bloodiest conflicts in the United States history, and it occurred between 1861 and 1865. Right down the street was a place called Emory Henry College, and Dr. Sneed was on the original board of directors for Emory Henry College, and Dr. Sneed also was the local town doctor. Now, backing up for just a minute, Dr. Sneed's wife, Betsy, was a Scot by marriage. She owned a large portion of land. And that land, when you got married back in those days, if a woman owned land, it would default to the husband. So she had the rest of what is now Glade Spring, Virginia, who ended up coming to him. So in the time of the Civil War, right down the road, a couple of miles, is the town of Saltville. One of the bloodiest battles in our region, actually was two battles, happened at Saltville. Many of those victims were taken to Emory Henry College because when the Confederacy occupied the South, they turned Emory Henry College into a Confederate hospital. And it was known as Emory Henry Confederate Hospital. So they basically turned the name and converted it to a hospital. But Dr. Sneed was also a town resident doctor. And since he lived here at this place, some of the injured soldiers were brought to the property. Those that didn't survive, their bodies were actually stored in the basement of this place, which is a limestone foundation, limestone block. Their bodies were actually stored in the basement until they could be moved to the Confederate States Hospital at Emory Henry College. So it did serve as a Civil War morgue during that time. Dr. Sneed also did operate his medical practice out of this place. So we'll move on up the stairs, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Actually, let's get to the rest of the first floor. One thing.
Yeah, let's do
Come down. See this area, we kind of whisper. I'm sorry, guys, because we're right outside the séance room. This area here, when Christina pans, you'll see this has been added on. This was originally closed off, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that history in just a second. But Dr. Sneed, when he built onto the property, he added on to those rooms, and I'll show you those original rooms in just a second. I don't want to interrupt them just yet. So this was the outside. So Dr. Sneed inherited all that land, or through marriage, got all that land from his wife. And that made him very prominent in Glade in this community. In fact, they owned most of what is modern day Glade because of his marriage to Betsy Scott. So Betsy Sneed is his wife. And when fast forward all the way through their marriage, when he passed away, in his will, he left the will to say if she would ever get remarried, she would get a single dollar. That's what he wanted, was to get a single dollar. I learned today a new piece of history that I didn't know from Ronda. When that happened, his brother actually tried to get the property from her because in those days, women really didn't have a lot of rights. And what he did is he tried to take her to court to get the property and take it out from her because he felt it should have belonged to him. And it ended up not happening that way in court. It ended up not going anywhere. So if you fast forward through that time of Dr. Sneed's, who built what is now the modern day house, it was owned by the Mason family. The very spot that we're standing is where Douglas Mason died. Douglas Mason was the youngest son. There's some pictures in the gift shop that we scrolled past in the beginning. We'll go back in a second to show you the pictures. But this is exactly where Douglas passed away. He was out in the field and got struck in the head by a horse. Douglas Mason was 8 years old. Douglas is one of our resident spirits here. He's a spirit that has been documented several times. In fact, the most famous photo that we've ever captured, myself and my almost 16-year history, as well as the history of SRS Paranormal, the picture that we have that's the only one that I can say is a true quote-unquote paranormal photo, we believe is probably him in that front window.
And I debunked every sorry. Well, I can't without changing them.
Sorry, we'll switch up.
So I had the amazing ability to have all the photos taken moments up to and even after in a sequence. I had all the camera information. I had absolutely every single piece of thing that I needed to break down and analyze this photo. I couldn't. Out of the thousands and thousands of photos that I have seen over the years, I literally have absolutely no explanation. The image that is clearly seen in the window could not physically be there based on how the house was set up, what was in the window, everything. It is mind-blowing, and it is pretty cool that I had to break that down. But having the information leading up to it was even better. So we've got a sequence before and after, but it's an amazing photo. We'll share that one on the Facebook page as well.
And what's really cool about that photo too, and I'll piggyback off again what Christina said. We had an investigator who was with us that night. We actually tried to put him in front of the same window. We'll also post the debunked pictures that we did. There's no way you could physically get close enough to the window for a human shape to appear in a shadow. And that photo was taken in midday. And there was nobody in the house. And we know that for sure because the people that were supposed to be in the house were in the parking lot with us while we were taking the photographs. So that was one of the coolest captures that we've had in terms of photographic evidence anywhere that we've ever been. And like I said, for myself in 16 years, one of the best photos. But this is the exact spot where he passed. This would have been outside. This has all been added on. This property also spent some time as a restaurant in Inn. It was known as the Swiss Family Restaurant, I believe, or Swiss Inn and Family Restaurant, maybe. I might be mincing that a bit.
I think that's right.
They would actually come, people would come in, and one of the claims was that they would have a host area by the front door, and people would come into the place to go into the dining area, and they had tables and all the different rooms. And people would come in and they would talk about this hostess. She was blue dressed, and she was very rude. She would never speak to anybody. She would just come down and stand in front of people. And then she'd go away, not take their names or nothing. So there was multiple complaints about this. Well, that's the lady in blue, and that's the apparition. Now, we've never seen her or captured her, but many people reported that occurrence when they were here as a restaurant. Now, I'm not sure. I think Ronda actually has seen that, and I'm pretty sure they have a photo that is very, very compelling that looks to be a woman in a period dress that Christina has also analyzed. And it appears to match the description, and it was literally taken right up above these stairs. So that is to us pretty substantial validation of that claim. So that's the lady in blue. So getting back to some of the other spirits that we have identified here and have had documented numerous encounters with EVPs, and not just us, countless teams that come here. This place is open to paranormal teams. The information is scrolling on the bottom. Teams that are within plane, train, automobile distance to this location. Book it with Ronda. Come in here and investigate this place for yourself. This, like I said, still remains one of the most active places we've been fortunate enough not only to go, but to call home. And teams from all over the country have come in here and documented Class A EVPs, apparitions. I'm sorry, yes, and in fact, the Tennessee Ray Chasers, the guys from Haunted Vibe and Haunted Towns, as well as they were Ghost Asylum was their first show. Those guys who are currently on Travel Channel, about 2 times a year host an event up here where they do public investigations up here. So those are great guys, and give a shout out to them because we do know them and we do really enjoy spending time with them when we get to come up and help out with those events. But they come here because it is that active, and they have investigated here a few times with the public. So if you have the opportunity to come here and investigate it, we would love to share our Omaha with all of you. So now we're going to move on up, and I'll tell you a little bit about some of the activity that we had in other places. We're going to go to the stairs. So I was talking earlier about the EVP where I heard the heel-to-toe footsteps that came down this hallway. And this is where I came up. I was actually sitting in the room that we're going to go into in a few minutes downstairs. I heard the footsteps on that first visit. I came up. When I got to the top of the stairs, I heard the same heel-to-toe footsteps across, sound like a boot, maybe, going across this wooden floor. This door was shut. When I opened this door, I said, "Come on, come on." I said hello, and we heard "come on, come on" was the reply that we captured in Class A EVP. I don't know if Alex. So this is the room where I entered that we got the Class A EVP on that very first walkthrough. This is also a room that we have had some really good spirit box interactions.
SLS.
SLS camera interactions. On the spirit box side, we were asking for validation one night. If you can prove to us that we're communicating with you, Dr. Sneed, who we believe is here and we have documented several times, as well as Betsy Sneed, can you give us validation? Can you say one of our names? Not once, not twice, but 3 times in the course of 20 minutes. The spirit box clearly said, Kevin. Everybody in the room heard it say Kevin. We were sure of it. I believe it is in one of the episodes that's on our YouTube channel. We thought it was 7 at first, but then we realized it was Kevin, but everybody clearly heard the second and third one as Kevin. So, and that has happened several times up here where we've had my name, Al's name, and Kevin's name actually said on the box. We've also documented in this area, and we've tried to debunk it as refractory or reflection or any type of anomaly, but we get a creeping type stick figure that appears, creeps along the floor, comes up on the ceiling here, and then drops down on people sitting on the stairs. And we have documented it several times. We've come in here in the daytime and nighttime with the SLS camera from different angles, from different rooms, and tried to debunk it. We had Interprovide Paranormal with us. Those are the ones that run all the haunted stuff at Russian Mountain Prison, which is another fantastic, one of our other favorite locations. So they're a great group. You guys want to check them out too. But they had an SLS camera, so we tried an experiment with dual SLS cameras from different angles. And sure enough, Al was sitting on the stairs and felt like, hey, why don't you tell your story? I mean, why don't you tell your story, brother? You tell your story.
Well, I mean, we captured it. We were standing in the other room, Dr. Sneed's room.
Right, you're sitting here, weren't you?
Yeah, and I come over there and sit down, and it looked like it was. I won't say what you guys said. It was to me, but it was above my head, like in the door frame right there. So, yeah,
Both SLS cameras. That was the cool thing.
we had dual, yes,
2 different angles.
Yeah,
Which was really cool. We'll move on up here into what we call the red room. Now, we believe that this was actually, I don't know if we have a light here or not. I think we
Might
do.
need a flashlight in here.
I'll try to do the flashlight.
We'll do a flashlight tour of the Nickerson Sneed.
Sky Ray is begging me to say what you guys said it was doing, but I can't say that on camera, Sky. Sorry.
Now it's a little too PG-13, right?
Use your
Sky?
imagination. It was
Think beverages.
looked
Hot
like
tea.
it was straddling.
Yeah, think hot tea.
Hot tea. It's funny. If we can dig the clip up, I think we have it. If we can dig that clip up, we'll try to post it too. But this here is, and I'll try to provide light. This is the red room, and most people that come up into this room from the public, other teams that don't know a lot about this place or about the history, they often talk about how heavy this room feels. And I'll be honest with you guys, right now, this room feels heavy to me. When I walk in here, it feels heavy. I want to point something out real quick. There's an area here where curtain rod was taken down, and Christina's going to appreciate this. There's some dust that fell across this textured wallpaper. Now, this part is original, this paper that's been refurbished here, but there's some imperfections in the wall. When this dust fell down, it created an anomaly. When we took a photograph of it, it was a face. It was also a claim that other teams had made about this face. When we came back and looked at it and felt the wall and took a picture from another angle, we were able to debunk that. So that goes back to what we talk about all the time. It's so important to avoid pareidolia, to make sure you debunk things and take that extra step. So I wanted to share that. So I'm glad that these holes are actually still here because it's kind of convenient. But people talk about how heavy this room is. And this is a room where we've had several interactions here, one of which we were doing what we call spontaneous role playing. And I was pretending to be a hurt soldier from the Civil War. And I came in here and I asked if Dr. Sneed was in here. And I said, well, my hand, can you look at my hand, Doc? I need to see, Doc, my hand is hurting. On the spirit box, we clearly got, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it's fine. And I said something about my hand and it said his hand. Al, is that right? Or am I mentioning that?
It said it's fine.
And I believe that's on the second video that's on our YouTube. I believe that one was titled Relapse. First one was House Call. But yeah, so this we believe was his doctor's office. So we get a lot of cool interactions here. We've had several spirit box interactions here. And this is the room. There's another famous photo that we debunked on our, we talked about on our photographic analysis episode that we did early on the gathering. And this is where the person was that Christina, you want to talk a little bit about that one? No, you don't. You remember the picture, though, right?
Yes.
We'll post that one up too. I think she wants to get out of the red room, is what she's really telling me.
This room is really heavy, guys. That was actually my first investigation with the team.
Yes.
I came up with the girls from End of Line,
Yes.
and I've been on a bunch of investigations. This one felt really, really heavy, and it was the first time that I had ever been touched in a way that was not malicious, but negative.
Yep.
But I didn't provoke. But anybody who knows me, I'm a bit of a strong woman. Let's just say I've been accused of flying around on a broom with a bee. But anyhow, so I made some comment about him not liking women and strong women, and I got hit behind the right knee and went down.
Yes, you did. I remember that now.
That was the first time. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, doctors is often interacted with here, like again, not just by us, by numerous teams that have come here. They all get the feeling that it's him. They've had EVP, spirit box validations, rod validations that suggest that, and the evidence really leads us to believe that. But the interactions for women with Dr. Sneed are always more malicious, I guess, than the interactions with.
They're not real positive.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. With men, he will interact with us, but he doesn't usually get that physical with us. It doesn't seem anyway. But we'll move on here a little bit further, because I know we're going to jump in on that séance for a few minutes and do some interviews with some people. So this is the kids' room that we're going into now. So I'll let her pan around a couple of cool stories that the team has had experiences in this room. I don't know if we have a light in this one.
We do not have lights up here, guys.
We're not going to take you down to the basement tonight because it is very wet and musty down there. And honestly, I just don't like the basement. So
The basement is kind of creepy.
yeah, like we run down because you have to kill all the power down there when you leave for the night. So we literally decide who's going to run down there, who's going to stand at the top of the stairs. The creep factor down there is insane. There's another
really heavy.
of a child carving over there. We believe was done by Josephine or Douglas. Josephine was Douglas's sister when the Mason came to in the early 1900s. She passed away from illness I believe the year before Douglas did. So this particular spot here is where we had another one of our,
Oh, we just lost. Imagine that. Technical issues. Okay.
I'll let her pan around, then I'll tell you what we have now.
Okay, so let's start at the fireplace and move around.
I'm
I'm just going to show you a little bit. The fireplace is always very cool around this place. I just love all the fireplaces.
And Autumn says she loves the dolls too. Autumn Simone's.
Autumn, no, the dolls are creepy. You would absolutely love these dolls.
These creep me out more. They're handmade, but they creep me out even more.
Yeah, they're pretty freaky.
Yeah, look at them eyes, right? I mean, what's going on there?
Want me to bring one tomorrow, Autumn? Yeah, this, I don't know, the energy in here is a little bit different, but it is definitely the children's room. Now, this is a cool architectural piece, the built-in closets.
So I'm going to tell you a quick story about the built-in closet.
I'm going to show off these creepy dolls over here
Let's look
too.
at these guys first.
Okay,
Well, I'm going to take you guys a quick
that's
show of the closet. So normally this time of year, and this is why we're excited to get to bring this Haunted Harvest event to you guys. Normally the house is in full Halloween haunt mode this time of year. I mean, it is decked out with a full haunted house, animatronics, scare actors.
Wear your Depends, just saying, if you come next year.
So, yeah, like last year, of course, Christina got through, she hates clowns, and the scare actors are not allowed to interact too much with the people, but we made sure, thanks to Rhonda, that they could really interact with Christina. And let's just say she got some payback for a prank at the Ross Opera House. That now is still out for.
I don't know what you're talking about.
In these closets, one of the scare actors would normally hide in there, and he Now, this place ramps up really crazy during the haunt because it's just that energy. You're positing all that fear and anxiety, and it just feeds off that. But he was in here, and he was hiding, waiting to scare her. People heard a child giggling. And when he looked to his right, there was nobody there. So he immediately took out his phone and started recording. And there's child giggling heard on the recording, not audibly, but on the phone. He did not hear the second time audibly, but he did hear it here. As for us with encounters here, there used to be a piano that sat here, a kid's piano. We captured on more than one occasion an SOS figure come up and looked like he was playing the piano.
Yeah.
This is also, what did you say, Al?
He said, yeah.
Actually, we captured that on both SLS cameras. Sandy and
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. We also have had several other interactions here. I've been touched on more than one occasion in this room. Kevin has been touched on more than one occasion in this room. But one of the most memorable we actually caught on camera. Again, it's in that episode on YouTube. Kevin is standing here. I'm standing on the side of the bed. We're doing a spirit box session. We're getting a lot of communication. Again, with no antennas, just the static. And there's very little bleed through up here too. Plus, when you start it, we block as much of the dynamic as we can. Even if there is any really strong ones, because when you take out the antennas, you're still free to look at the short range. But anyways, Kevin goes, I just got touched. I said, where? And he said, on my shoulder. So I said, did somebody just touch Kevin on the shoulder? And we hear clear as a bell on the shoulder. So there's a second sentence that comes through, and it's been so many years now I don't remember, but it's again on that episode. That's another crystal clear response to what we were talking about. It was another one of those fantastic moments. Me personally, I was sitting here one day during an investigation. We were sitting here, we were trying out some new experiments, and I was just standing here kind of like this, and it was completely dark, and it felt like a kid literally came up and hugged my leg. And I'm like, guys, something's touching me, something's hugging my leg. But it's not just us that has these experiences here. Everybody that comes here experiences these type of phenomena. It's again, that's why it's one of our favorite places.
Well, the Wraith Chaser event, we were downstairs. They were getting communication. They were getting activity. You and I both felt the cold breeze move literally past us. And 3 people of the public said, I just got touched. I'm out. Somebody got up and left.
This is another great spot here. We were sitting on the stairs conducting another session. We captured here of Betsy's voice. That's another thing. The voices that we have captured on Spirit Box sessions here have been the same voice over multiple sweeps.
To the point we recognize them.
Yes, and like 6 to 8, 10 sweeps. So that's a significant range of frequencies to even pick up, like I said, even sometimes full sentences. And this was where we had a great interaction speaking with Betsy. So Betsy Sneed is another, third floor is closed off because actually several years back, I think it was 2011 or 12, an EF3 tornado ripped through the street and actually tore the roof off of this place. So the original porch and the roof were destroyed. And when they built it back, it's just, it's not a full attic anymore. It's just got the rafters. So it's closed off so people don't wander up into the attic. But this is Betsy's room.
I love Betsy's room.
Yes, that is an actual coffin. No, Rhonda does not sleep in a coffin, but this is an actual coffin. It's actually one of 2 actual coffins here on the property. Downstairs is where the ladies' parlor. There's a big wooden box. It's actually a child's coffin. So there are some really strange things, and you ask, why would those strange things be here? Because this is going to also be an Odyssey museum. Rhonda is going to be bringing some artifacts in, letting people come in to see some famous haunted and significant artifacts that go along with that type of thing. So that will be something cool to see.
I love this mirror. Everybody has got to see this mirror.
During investigation, when it is pitch black and energy and activity is ramped up, and you come here, you scry, yeah, that's a freaky experience. This one's good too, because this is a great antique room.
I can't see in that one.
So yeah, so this was Betsy's. One of the claims that was often talked about But Betsy herself would be seen standing at this window, looking out this way. Now, just down the road from here is where Betsy is actually buried. And one of the things Betsy wanted done was around her first husband and young child that was born, I think during the childbirth, at childbirth, where this is low budget show. But she wanted to have a fence, a wrought iron fence, put up around her first husband's grave and the baby that died just after or right at childbirth. I may be off on that part of the age, but it never happened. That's never been done. So when Rhonda first purchased the property, she would literally get phone calls from the police department and from the neighbors telling her that somebody was in the house walking around, that there was a woman sitting in this window. And she would come up here and go through the house, and police would go through the house, and there'd be nobody here. So that was like one of the first things. Now, her being a psychic, she knew for sure this place was haunted. When she came in here, she connected right away. But that was further validation for her to have those experiences happening on the property. So that's the tour of the amazing Nickerson's theme. It is such an honor and pleasure to bring it to you guys, and for us to be able to have the ability to be based here is just phenomenal. And we love it. We want to share it with everybody we can. And that's kind of what we want to share with you guys tonight. And during spooky season, what better way than to do it at our home away from home?
Our favorite haunted house. Do we have lights in here? No, we don't. Okay.
So I'm going to go real quick and let them know we're going to come in on a seance. Let you guys see a few minutes of that. Then we'll do a short interview with Ronda, see what they got during the seance. And then we will get ready to wrap it up a little bit. I think we got about, 23 minutes out?
23 minutes.
All right.
Oh, I'm impressed, Matt. Okay.
But we'll do a couple quick interviews to let you guys hear about that. And coming up, the next 4 shows that we'll be doing, the times are going to be, they're listed in the description on our calendar and on the Paranormal Warehouse events. You can look at the upcoming shows that we're going to have for the gathering here. And some of those shows will include, next weekend, we'll be live with the Ghost Sisters. So we're going to be up here just talking like we are now. Or if we still have the internet issues, we may have to do that one from the studio. But we're going to try to do like we're doing tonight and have some of us up here and maybe some of us at one of the studios at home. We've also, on the 16th, are going to have, which is a Friday night. You definitely want to tune in for that. We're going to do a public investigation up here. Old school. We're going to mix it like we do across validating, but you're going to see some of the Victorian methods. You're going to see some of the things that we do and how we blend it with the tech and why SRS does things a little bit different than other teams. But we're going to do that live with the public. We're going to have a small group of people here because we are still going through this whole COVID-19 mess.
Yeah.
So we will have a limited number of people and again be following social distancing protocols, wearing masks and doing those things. But we're going to bring it to you live so you guys can come along with us and see during the investigation of this amazing place.
And we're going to have a special guest too, and she's watching tonight.
Yeah, Sky, I didn't want to say that unless we weren't sure, but Sky is coming to East Tennessee and to Glade Spring, Virginia. Sky Ray, the fabulous Sky Ray, our great friend, is going to be with us for that.
Hi, Sky.
And we can't wait to have her come here. I've had the pleasure of getting to know her pretty well over the last few months and can't wait to get to work with her in person. Super excited about having her come. I didn't want to say anything unless that wasn't final, so I wanted to but I guess we're working out of it. You what?
She said yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
We're super excited to have her down here. I think she's going to love this place too.
You're going to light up. Oh my gosh, you're going to light up when you hit the door.
So we're excited about that. Then we're going to have on the 22nd, we're going to do, it's around that time, we're going to do another seance, but with the team. So we're going to bring you that whole seance pretty much live. And we're going to do like we're doing now, where you'll actually get to see the actual seance. It'll be the team conducting that seance. And then the final night that we're going to have up here is the 29th. And then we're going to close out our version of spooky season with you guys. The final part of Haunted Harvest. We're going to do an unprecedented experiment that we've never done, that I'm not sure that anybody has quite done this way. We're going to be here with an IDC direct link JW Prather is going to be in his studio, the guy that builds those fabulous devices. And we're going to try to get Spirit to talk to us in 2 locations, or maybe answer us and see if we can get answers in different locations for more questions are answered, to really see about piercing that veil. So what better time to do it than right before Halloween? So let me pop my head in here and see if they are ready for us to pop in. Just give me 1 second. Chrissy, I want to make sure I know.
Yeah, fine. I'm going to walk around a little bit. This place is just gorgeous.
And I have to tell a little story. The first time we went up there, it was me or myself and Matt and Kevin. And we unload all of our equipment onto the front porch. And we walk in and Matt goes, "Hey, me and Kevin's going to run down here to get something to eat. You and I was like, well, I've got to stay here and watch the equipment, you know? So I was in that place for about 25, 30 minutes by myself. And I kind of wandered
you're a
around,
ghost
but
hunter, right?
I didn't wander much past that couch.
We're going to come in. Robert's still doing the same.
We've got masks on, so that's not our birth. Can you make a noise for her? Give us a sound in here. No, but we've been seeing things move.
I didn't want to interrupt y'all, but right here, and it was literally getting tugged right by this camera. I watched it.
There's a ribbon on the base of that. It's skeleton hand numbers and all that stuff.
I don't know if anybody saw it on camera, but you were looking right at it. It literally got tugged. I saw it right in front of me.
And we've been hearing popping noises like oh yeah, there's a shadow there, which indicated that someone was on the steps because it's a reflection on the steps. We heard a thump of the red room upstairs.
Anyone here associated with named Delilah?
So whoever's in the room with me, make the noise for us again.
Al, you'll have to read that. I can't read it.
Colette McCardle says she sees an image of a spirit of an older man walking around the table, older man in his 60s. And I said, that's very interesting.
He's been here, he's been in here.
Remember what we talked about earlier? He likes to have more women on it. That's kind of his.
That is probably Dr. Sneed, Colette, that you were seeing. Amanda Moyston said, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She said she saw a shadow pass by.
Does anyone out there know a Jenny or a Jennifer, something like that? We're picking up on the Jennifer. Just curious. I was curious if we were picking up off of Jennifer. She was watching.
Yeah, I'll ask him if anybody knows a Jen or Jennifer or Jenny.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's a Jennifer.
A Jen or Jennifer or
A
Jenny?
Jen or a Jennifer? Anybody watching know a Jen or a Jennifer?
It's a Jennifer and a
Jennifer name, you're saying. Only repeating because they've got their masks on.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to hear Rhonda and
Yeah.
That is a common non-paranormal event that you experienced with Ronda.
Colette said he looked like an important man.
Dr. Sneed.
Yeah. And Amanda said, I see a blue light moving around too. That may be the camera flare that you're seeing.
If it's coming from that
Okay.
window, it is camera flare. I see.
Yeah.
I can manipulate it. See?
Yeah. Marcus Starnes, who's close friends with us and does a lot of investigations, said his sister-in-law's name is Jennifer.
A member of ours.
cracking noise again.
Yeah.
We heard that all.
Sounds like heat grounded.
Yeah.
It's weird that you said that because that's what I was just sound like somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it right, and this heard about it then. And that's exactly what I thought was somebody grinding their teeth. I was actually going to ask Michaela if she was because she does that sometimes.
Yeah, I'll definitely say that blue light that you're seeing is camera related.
Yeah. Okay. Colette McCardle, who's from the UK and watches our show a lot, has asked, did someone take their own life in that place because they restricted my breathing? I felt like I was choking.
I don't know this part. The history that we found out, I don't know the process.
And we know Douglas died of a head injury, but we don't know anything about it breathing related.
Yeah.
Like a Tibetan, yeah.
But we don't have one up here. I have one at home, but not up here. That candle's been going crazy all night.
So Rhonda, for those that are watching, explain a little bit about the candle flames, what they do sometimes.
Well, it's easy for a spirit to manipulate the candle flame because one, it's energy, and they can draw from it, and two, it's so easy to move. You know, you just barely breathe on it, it moves. It's easy to manipulate. So we can use the candle flame to ask questions. And since we all have on masks, we know it's not our breath moving the candles or the flames because there's no air going anywhere. We can barely breathe.
And I'll also point out, this is one of the original rooms of the fort, and there are no AC vents at the ceiling. There's no air movement that comes from anything like that above the table. Even the doors, there's not, the airflow is below the bottom parts of the doors. So very unlikely that that would affect the candle flames. And that's also some Victorian era, right? That would have been in the spiritualist movement. Candle.
Sure. So we use whatever we can to get responses. Sometimes we have bells because they're easy to manipulate too. That was also a Victorian thing.
If it was wind too.
It would be hitting them all. So there's somebody here, but they're just not strong enough to make a thump or a noise.
And if it was an issue with the wick would be popping, right?
Right.
And you see that weakness in the wick.
Are y'all hearing the?
Yes.
Okay.
Over here.
Absolutely.
There's
That's,
popping behind us over
all
here.
right, so.
We've heard footsteps all over the entire room.
That plane.
It's so cold for them.
Can you explain how your hands are connected and why?
It's our hands are connected just by touching pinkies to create an energy flow. The way we're putting out more energy this way, hopefully help anything that wants to manifest. It's an energy flow. You don't cross your legs and you keep your feet flat on the floor.
That's also allowing that energy to flow amongst all of you. So you're
Yes.
right. So you're all sharing.
We're all connected.
So think about a bunch of batteries connected to a cable. You're sharing that circuit, right?
Yes, and actually, Rosie and Stacy were having shared visions a minute ago. It was really cool of a Victorian type social gathering, not really a ball or a dance, but a socialite gathering here.
Sky Ray said that she's picking up on a female presence around that's very calm, and she thinks that she passed of cancer in her lower abdomen, if that resonates with anybody.
That does. That was my aunt. She died of pancreatic cancer.
There you go, Sky. Great validation.
That's important viewers out there to keep in mind. When we're doing these type of things, we're not just getting the spirits that may be residing here. Those spirits come in and communicate. They see that opportunity, they will come. So it may be the baggage that comes with us. It may be a stray spirit that we have documented this several times where a stray spirit has just come in and had something that they need to pass to us, and we've gotten that information.
That happens quite often at Tipton Haynes.
Yes.
That's why I someone knew Jennifer's name because I thought maybe it was someone watching. Because I mean that it was just as soon as we started that name came through. So
Okay, Al, I can't see you. What is
Sky Ray said, I think she is connected to someone at the table, which we just validated. And I hear a B for Betsy. She has not been passed for very long. Betsy was the name of Dr. Sneed's wife, Sky. I'm not sure if you might be picking up on her or the lady at the table. What was your aunt's name?
Eunice.
Eunice, okay. But there is, Betsy Sneed is connected to that property. She lived there with Dr. Sneed. So
she died in the late 1880s.
okay.
And
Rhonda, we had a question earlier, and I promised the viewer we would ask. She wanted to know if any of the dolls upstairs move on their own.
that, did you have purple?
I'm a good sir. Sounds fun.
That I don't know. I haven't had any reports and I haven't seen it, so I don't know. Can't say yes or no. I would not say it's impossible or it hasn't happened. I just don't know of it.
Okay.
So following up, we just heard the front door open, which is a very common occurrence here.
That does happen a lot.
It's closed and locked.
Sky said she felt heart issues with Betsy Sneed. No,
We don't have history to validate that, Sky.
we don't really know.
For sure.
Really watched Michaela's actually my daughter, so she's sitting in on tonight's seance for her first time.
I believe she's following in Dad's footsteps.
Maybe just a little.
We're gonna break soon, so if you can give us one last knock or footstep. Oh, there's a double in the corner. Like a footstep. That's my son. Thank you for the acknowledgement. And we'll break a few minutes and recharge our batteries. I'll come back and help you some more, so you hang around.
We're going to step out and wrap because we're in our final couple of minutes, but I am going to talk to you about maybe doing some interviews on our regular Facebook. How you guys doing? All right, guys, we've got about 2 minutes left, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up this very first episode of Haunted Harvest from the Gatherings Haunted Harvest from here to Nickerson State. I hope you enjoyed seeing what's going on with the seance. Of course, there is hand sanitizer just outside these rooms, so they will definitely wash their hands and use their hand sanitizer. I don't want to get beat up in the comments. We are making sure we are safe as we possibly can be. Christina and I have stayed at least 6 feet apart this whole time. But yes, so if you will jump on over to our Facebook, which is again at SRS Paranormal Fans, if you'll jump on over there, we're going to go live on our Facebook since our time slot is up here at Paranormal Warehouse, which we're honored to be part of Paranormal Warehouse family. Can't thank them enough for believing in us and believing in the content that we create to allow us to host our show here. But if you'll jump on over there, we're going to do some interviews with the people in the seance, and we're going to talk a little bit more on our Facebook channel. Thank you for tuning to Gathering, and we'll see you guys next week.
Next week is the Ghost Sisters from Ohio. We're going to be interviewing them, and I'm looking forward to that. We've talked to them on the phone. So,
all right, Al, take us out.
All right, see you guys next week. Jump over to SRS Paranormal on Facebook.
Okay, so